Hi, how are you? It's Chris from Dixieland Farm. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite artists of all time. So this video is important to me. The first time I saw this artist perform live 3 times, and all I think in the same venue, all in New York City. So the first time was in the late 90s. He hadn't toured for many years, so it was a big deal. The New York crowd was excited, just so thrilled to be able to see this person perform. And I don't remember who the opening act was, but I remember thinking, wow, it's getting kind of late. And it was the Knitting Factory, which you could just, you walk in, right? There's no assigned seating. So I was up front, so I could actually see to the side of the stage. And I saw kind of commotion. So the person pacing back and forth. And 30 minutes late, maybe more, he comes out. He's got a little tiny practice guitar, which almost looks like just a fretboard and a cardboard. It's real tiny. I can't remember what the name of it's called, but go to any guitar shop, you can see it. So it's not a real guitar. And he's very nervous. He also has a stain on his warm-ups. He's wearing just a dirty t-shirt and a big stain in the crotchular area of the warm-ups. So I'm guessing he soiled himself. He sings a song. He barely gets through it. Second song, he barely gets through it, and he apologizes. He had lost his songbook. He wrote down all of his songs in like a trapper keeper kind of thing, and he lost it. Towards the back of the room is his father, and he's there and just supporting him. You would figure the audience, the hip New York audience, would turn on him. They didn't. We all yelled, "We love you, Daniel." He performed a third song. I think he played Funeral Home in Casper. I don't remember what the first song was. And he ran out. So he performed 3 songs. The entire concert was maybe 10 minutes long. And nobody complained. Everybody was totally fine with that. Because we all know Daniel Johnston. We all know the trouble he has. Everyone supported him. Nobody gave him any business. The rumor I heard is, so he ran out of the concert hall, just ran and got lost, and then he got beat up. He showed up 10 hours later somewhere in Manhattan. Nobody would complain about that kind of story for the concert ticket. Second time I saw him, may have been a year later. He had a songbook. Kramer opened for him. Kramer was half with Ann Magnuson of the anti-folk group Bongwater, kind of like the first wave of anti-folk in New York. So he played. He was so he's a supporter of Daniel Johnston since he had several of his records on his record label, Bongload Records, not Bongload Records. Sorry, Shimmy Disc. It's the Bongwater Shimmy Disc. Yeah. He seemed like an angry guy. He's like, here's a song from some guy you don't know, and he played "Working Class Hero" by John Lennon. And he insulted the audience later on somehow, but it was fine. I'm having a soda in honor of Daniel, by the way. Daniel came out. Daniel played for an hour and a half. He paid up for it. As a matter of fact, I think the concert venue wanted him to leave. I think they may have shut off one of the lights at one point. Like, all right, you played longer than you were supposed to. Get out, or something like that. And the third time I saw him with Marissa. I didn't know how Marissa was going to react. I mean, one of our first together as a couple, and she totally got it. She got what I saw in Daniel. So to explain Daniel, oh, also, if you're Gen X, you know Daniel Johnston. You know Daniel Johnston just from the iconic T-shirt worn by Kurt Cobain of "Hi, How Are You" by Daniel Johnston, right? So he wore that shirt, famous, image of Kurt wearing that shirt of Daniel. Daniel Johnston was a musician from Austin, Texas. His first recordings were all done on cassette. They were done on a portable cassette recorder, like one that you would have had in a classroom. That is not high fidelity. It's not even low fidelity. It barely is fidelity. And he put it on a chord organ. Chord organ is a big plastic toy that is basically kind of a harmonica with a fan. And it's really hard to make, push down and actually open up the valves to get the thing. So you got to kind of press hard if you want to play. And so it kind of makes a tack, 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 tapping noise when you play it. And the first song on Yip Jump Music is Chord Organ Blues. And you can hear the percussiveness of him playing because he's got the tape recorder right on the damn chord organ. Daniel gets lumped into outsider music. He shouldn't be. The reasons why I don't think he should be is because outsider music is one of those things where when you hear it, and the descriptions are not fair often. It's music you make fun of, I guess, for some people. That's not it. Untrained musicians, maybe. Musicians who have a lot of spirit, but they don't have a lot of practical ability. Maybe it's hard to describe. And I don't think Daniel counts because he is an amazing songwriter. He can write very simply, just a few chords, and evoke a lot of emotion. When he sings, while he doesn't have a technically good voice, there's a pain in that voice that is transcending his ability and certainly makes the songs more poignant, which is why I don't really care for the covers of his music. And there's been plenty of covers of his music because I think hearing it from Daniel is more pure. I'll put it that way. Which is also some of the reason why I don't like his produced albums too much. I do prefer a lot of those solo albums. And because it's the vinyl community, I'm going to show you vinyl. So this is Yip Jump Music. This was VCLT by Matt Sands, Sandsy04, who still makes videos every once in a while. And it's got a nice gatefold here with his image, his artwork. So Daniel was also an artist. He worked in the medium of magic marker, basically magic marker. And there was a time when you could buy these things for $50, $75, $100. They go for thousands now, just on notepad paper. And there is reoccurring imagery in all of his. There's a lot of Captain America. There's a lot of Casper the Friendly Ghost. There's several songs dedicated to Casper the Friendly Ghost, and there's some reasons why that imagery repeats over and over again, like Jeremiah the Peace Frog, and then there's Dead Dog's Eyeball. There's again Casper. Certainly lots of devil imagery. Lots of graves, graveyards. Daniel was schizophrenic, which is also a hallmark of outsider music, but again, he's not outsider music. So, yeah. And here is a 10-inch EP that I bought at Kim's Music and Video in New York when that was around. And this was just a rarity, So on I Caramba Records in Spain, probably not licensed. I mean, there's just no telling. It's a thick record, though. I would say, it's you can't say 180 grams, 150 grams because it's 10 inches. But I mean, it's sort of like what a 150 gram record would be. It's got a little heft to it. Bought it for $11.99. How cool is that? Yeah. So the early albums were recorded on his cassette. They were self-produced, if you can call them producing. They were self-released, as in Daniel would hand them out when he worked at McDonald's. He would just hand them to anybody. So he was a fixture in the Austin scene, art scene, music scene. So Daniel was just handing out cassettes to anybody and everybody who would listen. And out of those early albums, Yip Jump Music I think is the best. It's the most it's the happiest, because sometimes Daniel gets dark. He gets real dark, because all the schizophrenic and bipolar. But it's got Casper the Friendly Ghost, which was used on the Kids soundtrack, if I remember. It's a song about King Kong, because that's another thing. I Live for Love. Museum of Love is a good song. These are all really good songs, and you can get these all online right now. Certainly from YouTube, but you can also get them from Bandcamp, where his estate is releasing all of these. These were hard to find at some point. They're not anymore. This was a CD that was released here, so it's a double. It's a Hi, How Are You cassette, so that's why you imagine that's a cassette cover. And then you got Continued Story here. Continued Story's got a little more production to it. He's got a band playing the Texas Instruments, right? And also, I think it's flip-flopped. I think it starts with Continued Story, but then the other part of the CD is Hi, How Are You? So it's on Homestead Records, which isn't that the record label that released some of the early Sebadoh records? I think so. He's obsessed with the Beatles, so there's a song in here called The Beatles. Here's I Saw Her Standing There. There's Live and Let Die on one of the later albums, where he kind of changes the lyrics around, and I think it's a better song, personally. But also even nips from Instant Karma, where we all live on. So anyway, Songs of Pain. Some of these songs will repeat on different cassettes, so they're usually different versions. It's just him doing it, which is weird since there's no band and it's just him, a guitar or a chord organ for these early albums. But they are different. Since I lost my tooth, tuna ketchup, premarital sex. I save cigarette butts. Sure, don't be scared. Really, any of these you can just throw a dart at. And they're going to sound similar. But like I said, they're simple songs. He has a muse, Laura. Well, who's calling me? Sorry about that. That was Marissa. So she's driving back from a horse show in the rain. She was gone all weekend. Wanted me to know that she's coming home. The what, the whom? Again, you could throw a dart at any of these. They're all going to be similar, great. So we had Songs of Pain. Here's more Songs of Pain. Phantom of My Own Opera. More Dead Than Alive. You're Never Gonna Make It, Joe. Never Get to Heaven. And then here's Yip Jump Music. Out of all the early ones, I think Yip Jump Music is definitely probably the best. And a little more cheery. And more flavor of what Daniel is. Lost recordings, so 30 different things on this. Lost Recordings 2. So, he was just cranking out these cassettes. Got the Retired Boxer, so you'll see that image with the missing head quite a bit. And again, there's just a lot of songs on these things. There's 20, 30 songs sometimes. He was cranking them out. Certainly Hi, How Are You? And Continued Story. Good. So it's got Funeral Home, which is one of his classics. Ain't No Woman Gonna Make a George Jones Out of Me. And Casper, Fly Eye, Them Girls, Them Blues, that's right. Walking the Cow. All good stuff. And we get into when he's on an actual label, sort of. So this is Shimmy Disco, like I said, Kramer. This is the real first introduction I had. A friend in college would play this. I'm like, I don't know what this is. So this is in an actual studio, produced and engineered by Kramer, as you can see there. at home. So I mean, it's at Noise, New York, which is probably his own. It's got Lee Ronaldo on one of the tracks. Look at that. Don't Play Cards with Satan is just brutal. True Love Will Find You in the End. Funeral Home, Devil Town. I mean, you can definitely hear the demons in this record. It can be tough if you do not like that kind of thing. I mean, you are peering into this guy's troubled soul. Artistic Vice, and you can see some of that artwork again, and again with his love of the Beatles. You got Sgt. Pepper there. I know Casper, so it's more Casper. I Killed the Monster, Laurie. So his muse, Laura, was somebody that was just nice to him in an art class. And he writes all these love songs to Laura. And you'll hear her mentioned lots of times. He just had this thing. But it was a muse. Like, he understood that, like, this isn't real. So there's a documentary, and he actually meets up with Laura, and she's flattered that he wrote all these songs. But he's shy around her, and, you know, it wasn't like, oh, after long last. He was just like, oh, hey, it's nice to see you. This is on Jaguar Records. Jad Fair from Half Japanese, so that's another whole other video on Half Japanese. Eccentric musician. Not outsider, but like, you know, just touching the edges just like Daniel is. I've had Rocky Erickson, McDonald's on the Brain. I did As It with Caroline. Tomorrow Never Knows. Wow, great. Frankenstein versus the World. Again with his artwork here. This is Penn Jillette's record label, Jaguar. And also later on, here in the early 2000s, we've got The Lucky Sperms, which is also Jad Fair and Daniel Johnston. This is definitely for the ones who like alternate music. I mean, that stuff is hard to listen to. I mean, you have to be a fan or really appreciate no standard rhythm or chord structure on some of this stuff, opposed to the Daniel stuff, which is way more typical. What you're used to, but not. You know what I'm saying? Here's an actual on Atlantic. This was produced by Paul Leary of the Butthole Surfers, and here's a ticket to the Knitting Factory. That may have been the incident, may have been a different one, I'm not sure. This is a great starting place, fun. It's so real musicians playing Daniel's music and Daniel singing, but I found out later that Daniel's not really good at being able to sing without playing. He needs to do both at the same time. So Life in Vain is just an amazing song. Love Wheels is an amazing song. Sad Sack and Tarzan's a good song. So Love Will See You Through. Holy crap, there's just a lot of good songs on that record, and a little more conventional. It's a good starting place. So again, here on Rejected Unknown, this is on Witch Records, whatever that is. You see, we got Laurie there and his artwork once again. This was a good record from what I remember. Nice book with all different artwork and his lyrics. Just trying to open this up, sorry. So there we go. Oh. Yeah, the spook, right. That's on this. Sorry, got distracted by my own thing. Daniel Johnston, Fear Yourself. This is on Gammon Records. This is produced and arranged by Mark Linkous of Sparkle Horse. while these more produced albums are good, there's something a little bit better when it's just him, because it's more pure. Another one is and always was on Serotonin Records. I don't really remember this one. This was a live album, Frankenstein Love. This is almost like a greatest hits. A little rough around the edges because it's live, but I mean, you're gonna hit all the songs that he's known for. Though I think this is excellent. Why Me, Daniel Johnston. Live in Berlin. This is what he sounded like when I saw him. So this was June of 1999. The cover of Live and Let Die's on this. I used to think that a store-bought product could give me the same love as anyone would. So he changes it around, definitely. This is an excellent book here, Definitive Daniel Johnston Handbook. It goes into some of the recurring themes. It goes into the story, what he had to deal with being troubled. Like, for example, he was flying in his father's Cessna, and I don't remember if he thought he was Captain America or Casper the Friendly Ghost, or just wanted to die, where he took the keys out of the plane and threw them out. And they had to crash because that shut off the engine. His father was his keeper, his caregiver. He lived, like, I think in a separate little house on their property for a long time. He would just draw, he'd just do his music, and they would just support him. And yeah. There is a documentary that goes into Daniel. I highly recommend it. It's a great, real documentary. Won, I think, some awards. It should be available free, probably on Crackle, because it's a Sony Classic Pictures, Sony Picture Classic. I showed you what my collection is, which is a lot of stuff. I remember I used to have the original cassettes bought directly from Stress Records. I gave them to a fellow VC member, Jeff Alphastair, because he had a cassette thing that he was showing off. And I'm like, I got the thing just for you. And he's an artist. He's a musician. And he says he's still got them. He told me just a couple of weeks ago, yeah, I still have those, which is great. Once I got the CDs, there was no need for me to have the cassette, so it just would have been a thing. And that's the thing about music, right? These aren't things, they're things in here. Things in here, but mostly in here. So it felt good to pass it along. And hopefully I pass along some interest into Daniel Johnston, that you'll at least look into his music. And again, don't judge a book by a cover. Don't judge a song just by the performance. Because it'll take a little bit of scratching underneath, and then you'll see how amazing his music is, which is why he's covered by so many people and revered by so many people. You know, Tom Waits, Kurt Cobain, or Yo La Tengo, etc. I mean, you know, it's just Apples in Stereo, right? They covered one of his songs. So did Billy Corgan, I think, Smashing Pumpkins, right? Just amazing. Just an amazing artist. He died only a few years ago. He didn't take care of himself, like I said, beginning with my little, this is for him. He drank like 2 liters of soda, like they were a can of soda. I mean, he would just down them. Just didn't take care of his weight. Didn't take care of himself, but, you know, he was on different medications and struggling, and lithium, I think, at one point. So it, I guess, makes sense. But Daniel Johnston. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and seeing my collection. Take care.